if you have not been following this little story about the Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, I'm about to get you up to speed because it has been a saga. It's very, very interesting. So, conservative justice Samuel Alito, apparently, in the days after the J6 stuff, had a bit of a social altercation with a neighbor. Not him, actually, personally, not him at all. It was his wife. There were some people that lived in her neighborhood that were very liberal, and they didn't like her so much, and they said some bad things to her. And her response was to go outside and fly the American flag upside down. Because she's a hoot. Mrs. Alito, do not mess with her. So this was her thing. She did it all on her own. And nobody reported on it, not until now. Now they're reporting on it, which also, by the way, is interesting in and of itself. Think about that. Like, how does the media sit on the story for so long? According to the Washington Post, their own admission, they said, well, they didn't think it was important at the time. They didn't think it was important because it seemed like an individual squabble between these neighbors, between Mrs. Alito and her neighbor who had a difference of opinion. The reason apparently the upside down flag thing was significant because that was allegedly some kind of pro J6 thing. I mean, I had never heard that. I had never heard that. And so I asked around, and you know what? I know a lot of conservatives, like really deep-rooted conservatives all over the country. Nobody had heard of this. And they're acting like, oh, everybody knew it was a J. I'm like, nobody knew. I mean, I had never, ever heard of this until I just read it in the New York Times the other day. Who knew that upside down flag meant this? So I don't know if Mrs. Alito knew it or not, but what I can tell you is that upside down flags have been used in a time of distress before. So they signal distress, but according to the New York Times these days, it signaled something else entirely. Yet nobody chose to do the story. Nobody chose to do the story until now because you see, Alito is going to be deciding on this Trump case and Jack Smith, et cetera, and they're worried about the numbers not being stacked in their favor. And, you know, they've gone after pretty much everyone they can. So now, Mr. Alito, Supreme Court Justice Alito is ripe for the picking. So they wanted him. Democrats were demanding. They sent a letter. You got to recuse yourself. You got to recuse yourself from Trump cases. And he just came out with a response. So this is interesting. I'm going to paraphrase. No effing way. He didn't say that. But he did say that he will not recuse from cases involving the January 6, 2021 U.S. Capitol breach or any cases involving former President Donald Trump. So the Democrats, including many top senators, are going to go kind of crazy. They're going to go kind of crazy. It's just coming in right now. He's like, nope, not happening. They said he must because he flew that upside down American flag outside his home. By the way, he has said that was Mrs. Alito's thing. She was in this dispute with the neighbor. It was kind of just a neighbor thing. And there had been some bad words apparently exchanged. And Mrs. Alito was like, I don't like this lady and I'm going to fly my flag like this to tick her off. You know, it's kind of funny because they said it's perfectly fine that Judge Merchan can have a daughter that's making oodles of money, tons and tons and tons of money off of the Trump legal cases. That is her business. And it's somehow perfectly fine that Judge Merchan's daughter's living is tied to the outcome of this case. So it just seems like, once again, a huge double standard. I mean, this has nothing to do with money. It has something to do with a neighborly dispute, which even the Washington Post admitted way back when. So America's in a bad spot. They want to stack the court. That's where we're heading. They're already threatening, oh my gosh, if Donald Trump wins and we're going to lose the court forever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot going on. It's why I need you to subscribe. I need you to stay committed. I need you to be here every day, and I need you to share the information. So do your part here.